Ruth Kamande, who was found guilty of killing her boyfriend Farid Mohammed in 2015, made headlines again after graduating with a law degree. This is not the first time and won't be the last that people are talking about Ruth Kamande. Her story became famous not just because of the crime, but also because of her looks, which caught the public's attention. However, despite her appearance, many saw her as a monster. The media gave her the nickname Beauty Queen Killer because she stabbed the boyfriend not once, not twice, not even 10 times, but 25 times. Just think about it. Sadly, the boyfriend died and Ruth was found guilty of the murder. She was sentenced to death, which meant she was supposed to be executed, but that never happened. Just recently on November 26th, Ruth graduated with a law degree from the University of London.
We are here to celebrate this new chapter with a new story which all of you have participated in rewriting it.
This has left many people wondering, how did she go from being sentenced to death to graduating in law, and why is she still alive despite her death sentence? Let's take a closer look at this unusual and controversial story. Remember to like this video and don't forget to subscribe. Ruth Kamande's early life and educational background are not extensively documented. Most of what is available to the public focuses on her educational journey, which began in 2015 while she was in prison, and according to that information, Ruth Kamande is bright, and this is why. According to an article posted on Business Today on December 22nd, 2017, Ruth Kamande scored a mean grade of A- in the 2015 KCSE examinations, and while in prison, she became a trained paralegal, or in simple terms, a legal assistant. Just recently, she graduated with a law degree from the University of London, and we'll discuss this in depth later in this video. Now, let's go back to explore how Ruth Kamande met Farid Mohammed, the man who would later become the victim of her crime. Ruth Kamande met Farid Mohammed in her early 20s. The exact details of their meeting remain unclear, but their relationship was described as toxic and one-sided. Information about the early life of Farid Mohammed is available and is described as a bright individual. After performing well in his KCPE examinations, he attended Lenana High School and later joined the University of Nairobi, where he studied computer science. Shortly after graduating, he was employed as a data analyst and quickly rose to the position of a supervisor. Farid lived in Buruburu, a middle-class estate in Nairobi, and by mid-2015, Ruth had moved into Farid's apartment, making their bond even stronger. But like many relationships, problems began to appear. Friends and neighbors remembered them arguing a lot. These weren't just small disagreements, but big fights that showed signs of jealousy and mistrust. Farid was described as calm and quiet by those who knew him, reportedly had trouble meeting Ruth's emotional needs. At the same time, Ruth's possessiveness, maybe because of past experiences or insecurities, grew stronger over time. The accusations of cheating, with Ruth accusing Farid of staying in touch with his ex-girlfriends. Now, according to Farid's sister, she met Ruth Kamande for the first time when she showed up unexpectedly at her workplace, introducing herself as Farid's girlfriend. The sister was shocked by Ruth's sudden appearance and bold attitude, feeling it was out of the ordinary. But things didn't end there. Ruth reached out to the sister again later, sharing her frustration that Farid didn't feel the same way about her and seeking advice on how to handle the situation. Even though Farid was losing interest in Ruth, she couldn't let him go. She kept chasing after him, even after he tried to distance himself by moving on to a new home. Farid's uncle said that Farid told him that Ruth wouldn't leave his apartment no matter how many times he tried to break up with her. And the tension between them finally reached a breaking point in September 2015. On the morning of September 20th, 2015, Ruth Kamande's life changed forever. Court records show that the events of the day started with a simple discovery. Ruth found love letters at Farid's house. The letters, allegedly written by his ex-girlfriend, made Ruth feel betrayed, angry, and ready to confront him. The situation escalated when Ruth found a hospital card that suggested that Farid was HIV positive. She accused him of trying to infect her with the virus, which led to a violent confrontation. Ruth claimed that Farid attacked her, threatening to end her life to keep his status a secret. She said Farid became violent and even pinned her down during the fight. In the heat of the moment, she grabbed a knife from the kitchen to defend herself. But forensic evidence told a different story. Farid was stabbed 25 times in different parts of his body: his chest, hands, legs, head, abdomen, back, and shoulders. The number and severity of the wounds pointed to a carefully planned and executed attack. By the time emergency doctors arrived, it was too late. Farid was dead, lying motionless in a pool of blood. Witnesses said that they heard Mohammed crying for help as he tried to escape the apartment, but by the time the neighbors broke in, he was already dead. Ruth, still at the scene, was arrested by the police. Neighbors gathered outside, shocked and horrified by what had just happened. After the incident, Ruth Kamande was taken to Kenyatta National Hospital. Once there, she was given post-exposure prophylaxis, or PEP, which is a medical treatment that prevents HIV after possible exposure. And she spent 4 days being treated for stab wounds. Later, investigators said that those wounds were self-inflicted, possibly to make her self-defense claims seem more believable. People often say that women are less likely to commit violent crimes, but when they do, it usually grabs the attention of the media and society. This is because women are often seen as innocent, fragile, and dependable, making it hard for others to believe they could commit such violent crimes. That's exactly what happened with Ruth Kamande. Ruth Kamande's trial began in late 2015 and quickly became a national sensation. The media and blogs went wild with shocking stories. Headlines called her the beauty queen killer, a name that highlighted the surprising contrast between a beautiful appearance and the terrible crime she had just committed. People couldn't believe that someone who looked like her could do such a thing. According to court testimonies, Kamande had previously confronted Mohammed about love letters from his past relationships, which led to arguments, of course. These fights showed deeper problems in their relationship, including issues with trust and communication. Witnesses said that there were signs of growing tension between them, with Kamande becoming more possessive and aggressive. In the days before the murder, they had several intense arguments. On one occasion, Kamande reportedly locked herself in a room while trying to access Mohammed's phone messages. Mohammed had changed the passwords after she began checking his phone often. This behavior led Mohammed to express his desire to end the relationship because of the drama it caused in his life. Ruth Kamande also admitted to stabbing Farid, but claimed that it was in self-defense, as Farid Mohammed threatened her life during the fight. The prosecution made a strong case against Ruth. They said that she was a jealous and possessive girlfriend who killed because she was angry. They argued that the many stab wounds showed it wasn't self-defense, but a planned and deliberate act. While waiting for a trial in prison, Ruth took part in a beauty pageant at Lang'ata Women's Prison in 2016. To everyone's surprise, she won and was named the most beautiful woman in Kenya's largest women's prison, Lang'ata Women's Prison. Reports say that she beat 19 other contestants to win the Miss Lang'ata Women's Prison title. Photos of Ruth Kamande wearing a crown, smiling brightly, went viral. The public had mixed reactions. Some people thought she didn't look like the kind of person they imagine a killer would be, but some criticized the win, saying it was a way of glamorizing a convicted murderer. Fast forward to 2018, Ruth Kamande was found guilty of murder, and the sentence was death. At the time, Ruth was just 21 years old. The judge, J.C. Lesit, dismissed Ruth Kamande's defense, which claimed that she acted in self-defense. The judge said that the stab wounds didn't match a story that her boyfriend Farid Mohammed had pinned her down during the fight. In her ruling, the judge said that Ruth Kamande deliberately stabbed Farid Mohammed 25 times, saying the accused inflicted each stab not in a frenzy as she alleged in her defense, but deliberately and intermittently. Her action was calculated to inflict pain and cause death slowly but assuredly. This is clear proof of malice or spite, callousness, and hatred. She explained that the seriousness of Kamande's crime, along with her seeming lack of remorse, was a factor in giving her the death sentence. In the ruling also, the judge said that young people should know it's not cool to kill your boyfriend or girlfriend. Instead, it is cool to walk away from a relationship when it breaks down. Some people say that during the ruling, Ruth Kamande showed no emotion or reaction as the judge read out the sentence. Now, before the judgment, Ruth Kamande told the court that she had reformed during the 2 years and 9 months she had spent in remand, that she was sorry for what she had done. Her lawyer, Joyner Okonjo, also presented several arguments for why the court should consider a more lenient sentence for Ruth. One of the main points raised by the lawyer was that Kamande had shown personal growth while in prison. Ms. Okonjo highlighted Ruth's achievements since she was taken into remand. Ruth had become a devout Muslim, praying 5 times a day since the incident. The lawyer also mentioned that Ruth had taken several theological courses and presented 3 certificates from a church, all dated June 2018. Additionally, the lawyer presented a certificate showing Ruth's participation in modeling at Langata Women's Prison, as well as another certificate from Kituo cha Sheria for paralegal refresher training. The lawyer argued that Ruth was very talented, engaging in dancing, poetry, and script writing, and was nominated to speak at several state functions. The lawyer added that Ruth was involved in various activities at the prison, which led her to be crowned Miss Langata in 2016. The lawyer explained that winning such a title requires qualities like discipline, cooperation with authorities, and commitment to change. Now, finally, the lawyer also pointed out that Ruth was the daughter of a single mother and the only one supporting a family. While Ruth Kamande's religious changes were acknowledged during a trial, the court decided that they were not enough to reduce her responsibility for the murder. The court focused on the seriousness of her actions and the need for accountability in cases of extreme violence. The judge also described Ruth Kamande as manipulative and controlling, and noted that she had shown no remorse during the trial, which led to the conclusion that she did not deserve any mercy.
The Nairobi High Court has sentenced to death Miss Langata Prison 2016 beauty pageant winner Ruth Kamande over the murder of her boyfriend Farid Mohammed in 2015.
So we now know that Ruth Kamande was sentenced to death. So why wasn't she executed as planned? Ruth Kamande's death sentence was not carried out because of legal, humanitarian, and political reasons. Even though the court sentenced her to death, executions have been rare in Kenya for many years due to a change in the country's approach to the death penalty. Reports say that the last execution in Kenya happened in 1987 when Ezekiel Ochuka and Pancras Oteo Okumu were hanged for treason. These two tried to overthrow the former president Daniel Moi in 1982, and after being sentenced to death, they became the last people to be executed in Kenya. Also, the longest-serving hangman at Kamiti Maximum Prison, Kirungumi wa Wanjiku, died in 2009, reportedly from pneumonia. Ruth Kamande's case also attracted attention from many human rights groups, including Amnesty International, which called the death sentence inhumane and asked for it to be changed. The executive director of Amnesty International said in a statement that there is no proof that the death penalty prevents crime any better than other punishments, and suggested that the court focus on Kamande's rehabilitation instead. Amnesty International wanted Kenya to change Ruth Kamande's death sentence, saying no crime deserves the death penalty. In 2016, President Uhuru Kenyatta also signed documents that changed death sentences to life imprisonment. After this, thousands of prisoners had their sentences changed to life imprisonment. Then, in 2017, the Supreme Court ruled that the mandatory death sentence was unconstitutional. This decision meant that judges could now consider things like the nature of the crime, the circumstances of the defendant, and the possibility of rehabilitation when deciding on a sentence. Because of this, Ruth Kamande's case was likely reviewed using these new rules. Now, in 2020, Ruth Kamande appealed her case, but the Court of Appeal upheld her death sentence. The court agreed that Kamande was guilty of murder and said there was no reason to change that sentence. The judges pointed out that the injuries caused to the victim were clear evidence that Ruth Kamande intended to end Farid Mohammed's life. After Ruth Kamande's first appeal was denied, the Court of Appeal allowed her to take a second appeal to the Supreme Court. However, before the Supreme Court could make a ruling, the Court of Appeal made a new decision. In July 2023, Ruth Kamande was among the death row prisoners whose sentences were changed to life imprisonment. In simple terms, a death sentence was replaced with a life sentence. The Court of Appeal acknowledged that her crime was serious, but decided that the death sentence was too harsh. This ruling brought an end to her legal battle. Just recently, Ruth Kamande graduated as a lawyer on 26 November at Kamiti Prison. This graduation was part of a program by Justice Defender and the University of London aimed at providing education opportunities for inmates. Kamande shared in an interview with Justice Defender that she was inspired to study law by former Attorney General Githu Muigai.
I really wanted to get a good lawyer who could help me with my case and everything, and somebody who could understand me at the same time. So Professor Githu Muigai came in. I was so touched and I said, oh my God, in this world we still have people like this. So I desired to become like him.
Interestingly, before becoming a lawyer, Ruth Kamande first trained as a paralegal or a legal assistant. During this time, she actively helped other prisoners secure freedom. According to an article on Nation's website, Kamande used her knowledge to guide inmates through the complicated court system, which can be very challenging without legal help. And that is the story of Ruth Kamande. I know it is shocking, but things happen in this world. And the story of Ruth Kamande was no different. Tell me what you think about this story in the comment section below. And also don't forget to like this video and also subscribe. Let's meet in the next video.